from, media or that aspect of it.
Okay.
Would that present a problem at all? And I know you already noted no, but I just want to make sure that you're clear about that. We all, everything is an inconvenience in terms of having
Sure.
to take time off. The question is whether it would be an insurmountable hardship to you.
It would not be an insurmountable hardship, no.
If I may have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
Very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. West?
You need to change paper? Okay. Okay, we're ready.
We can't start without Linda. I won't be as long, but there are a couple of things that I would like to talk with you about. My name is Don West. I'm one of the attorneys for Mr. Zimmerman, and Mark O'Meara's here to my left. I suppose if you've watched Channel 13, you've seen Mr. O'Meara for sure. Let's talk about that for just a moment.
Okay.
It sounds like that when you get a few minutes or a break in what you're regularly doing at work, you can grab a peek at what's scrolling across the screen.
Yes.
If you are interested in a particular story, can you stop your work and watch it for the rest of the day?
No.
Take a peek and move on to what you were doing?
Right.
Okay. In that sense, would you get bits and pieces of information about this case as about any other case that, you know what I'm getting at?
It's really, I have a computer at my desk and I'm doing other things, and on my internet is open to like 3 different things. And so every once in a while I'll click on the tab that is News 13 and I'll just, I'll glance at what the headline is. It might be this case that's the headline. It might be a fire going on, a traffic accident, or some kind of national news. And
Sure.
If it's of interest to me, or if I have the time, then I'll click on it and maybe read it. I don't watch anything that's like a video. Anything that can be read. But I don't watch any of the video that's there. And usually I'm like checking on the weather or something. But I'm really, I'm there to work, so.
Do you work daytime hours?
I do.
Do you have an opportunity to see any of the court proceedings in the last few weeks?
I've seen them on the TVs, or on, like I said, on that front page of the internet, but not necessarily, I've not watched them on the news, I've not seen them, I've not read the newspaper or anything like that.
Are you aware of any case-related issues that are currently being considered by the court as a result of watching TV in the last 2 or 3 weeks?
Of this case, the
Right.
last that I heard, because we've been instructed not to listen to
Of course.
anything, was the motions before the trial started asking for a delay in the trial.
Okay.
That's the last I recall.
All right, that's the last issue related to the case that you remember being part of a court proceeding?
It seems like there were 2 of them, but that's the only one I recall.
Sure.
That there were 2 issues before the, two motions, but that was the only one I recall.
You mentioned, I think, and that's why I was following up, that you may have seen some pictures from the courtroom, maybe even still pictures, in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I wondered if you knew what that was in connection with, if anything.
No, again, that was when I would flip over to the tab and I would see just a little picture on the front of the website, and it would say, I know it would say like what why you were in court, but I don't recall what any of them said.
There was a comment made that I wanted just some clarification on about an issue that you became aware of, at least in the media, was that Mr. Zimmerman was not arrested right away. Were you following that issue as it was unfolding?
As it was unfolding, I just recall that that was an issue. In thinking back on it now, I didn't realize that he hadn't been, I mean, I did know that he wasn't arrested that night, and then that there were people upset. Who exactly, I don't recall, was upset, but I remember that there was, in the city of Sanford, quite an uproar about him not being arrested that night. And then subsequently he was arrested. That's really all I recall.
Yes, exactly right. And as a result of some people being upset because there had been a delay, did that affect your view of the case or any of the participants in the case?
No.
Do you hold anyone at fault for there being a delay, or that in fact he was later arrested?
No, I guess I just assumed that there was a reason that he wasn't, and I don't recall really. You know, I heard about the shooting, and then I heard about the unrest, and then I think the police captain resigned or was fired or something. Now, whether he was arrested before then or after, I don't recall.
Did you draw any inference or form any opinion about the quality of the investigation as a result of some of these events in the news?
No.
Is there anything from that sequence of events as they unfolded, the event, a delay in the arrest, some community response, and then ultimately being an arrest that, of course, eventually leads us here, in any way, in your mind, might impact on Mr. Zimmerman's presumption of innocence?
No. No.
Have you in any way formed an opinion, and I don't mean one necessarily that you hold firmly,
Right.
but just an opinion based upon what you've been exposed to in the media about his guilt or innocence?
My opinion, because I've thought about this the last couple of days,
Sure.
There seems to have been an admission that he did shoot Mr. Martin. Why he shot him and what exactly happened, I really can't form an opinion about. I just don't, you know, there's been two sides presented as to what actually happened, and I don't honestly know.
You haven't picked a side.
I have not, because I don't know. It's.
Do you think that you would be able to well, the term is set aside. That doesn't help a whole lot, but or disregard. But the idea is whether you've been impressed by any of the information from one side or another that would make it more difficult for you to base your decision as a juror only on what you hear in the courtroom.
I do not think that I have, I know that I do not have an opinion one way or the other that I would have to set aside.
Okay.
Because I really, honestly, it's a terrible situation that is bad for both parties.
I promise I'm just about done, but on that aspect, what caught my attention on the questionnaire, as you were asked, in a sense, to summarize the events. And I don't know whether, when you summarized on the questionnaire, whether you were summarizing really what you had heard as much as what you believe happened. You follow the distinction I'm making?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what caught my attention is that you indicate that the police told Mr. Zimmerman not to follow Mr. Martin, but he did anyway. Is that something that you heard? Is that something that you believe? Is that something that you are sure is what the evidence is in the case?
I am not sure that that's what the evidence is. I feel like that's what I heard. In terms of belief, I don't know, you know, it's not like a faith, but I believe that's what I heard.
Okay.
So.
Now, I'm not going to argue with that. You probably did hear that.
Okay.
No one's challenging that that sort of thing has been said. The question is, though, how would that have affected you as you sit here, possibly in judgment to Mr. Zimmerman? Do you think that's in fact what happened?
I honestly don't know. I mean, that's what I'm saying, is that that's what I believe that I heard, that he was asked, that he called in to the police, I believe, and said that he saw this young man and felt it was suspicious. And then what I thought I heard was that he was asked not to follow him, that the police, I guess, were coming.
Okay,
But-
fair enough. Then you also say here, though, but he did anyway.
Yes, that's
So-
what I heard, that he did anyway.
Correct. So have you been sort of struck by that? Has that in any way shaped your view of the case so that, and here's the rest of the question, if the evidence were different in the courtroom, that you would have this lingering problem, hey, I heard that he was asked not to follow him and he did anyway, if the evidence was in fact not supportive?
If the evidence was not in support of that, no, I would not hold to that. I don't desire to hold to anything that is not accurate. You know, I understand that I could have heard things, because I don't honestly recall where I heard or how I heard. It could have been somebody telling me that. It could have been something on the news. It could have just not be true, but I don't want to believe, I don't want to hold false thoughts in my head. So no, I don't believe that, you know, when evidence is presented to me and clearly that did not happen, for instance, I don't know if it did or not now, but if that did not happen, then no, I would not hold to that.
Yes, I get it. Thank you. One minute, please. If I understand what you're saying, you're not sure that you necessarily heard it the way I described it. But, and if, well, I'm not helping a bit here. You think you heard in the media that George Zimmerman was told not to follow Mr. Martin, and he did anyway.
Correct.
Is it possible, perhaps, assuming that you did in fact hear it that way, that the media might have gotten it wrong?
I suppose. Again, I don't actually recall where I heard that. I mean, I would assume that, well...
Are you assuming that to be a fact in the case? That that's what happened, that Mr. Zimmerman...
I'm not assuming that to be a fact as much as I'm assuming that's what I heard. That's what my recollection
absolutely,
is. So.
and that's why this is so challenging to sort out not just what you've heard, but how that may have affected you, and then whether it's had any effect that you can't help but bring into the courtroom
Sure.
with you. And are you comfortable, and can you assure us that the decision you would make in this case would in fact be limited to the evidence and the law that you hear in this court?
I do feel comfortable in that, because I don't, I honestly have not followed it close enough to know, and it's been long enough ago that I don't actually recall. I just like know what's in my head. And where that came from, now I'm starting to wonder. So I would definitely, you know, whoever is on the jury hopefully will understand that what is being said is what is
But that's what they
pertinent.
should, and the only
Yes.
thing they should consider. Sure, that's exactly
right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you'll still remain seated, and when the attorneys are ready, please approach. Thank you. Am I doing that again? No.
Not only the list, but the order in which we will go through them? Yes. Thank you.
Does that include the three that were from?
Yeah, the one that.
Yeah.
You ready for B65?
I am.
Mr. President.
Please be seated. Good afternoon, and we're still referring to you as juror B65. The court had gotten an indication yesterday, or a note that you were you wanted to talk more about a hardship that may be created due to your job situation if you were selected for this jury. So as to that issue only, the attorneys are going to ask you some questions, okay?
Okay.
All right. Mr. De La Ronda?
I'm sorry, but the court would just, I'm sorry, but the court would just inquire with the new timeline.
I have no problem doing that.
Yeah, with the new timeline, if that was going to change the hardship.
The attorneys have agreed that they think that the start of the trial, that would be after the jury is selected, and then once the trial begins until it ends, that should be between 2 to 4 weeks. That's an approximation. And the court has decided that the jury will be sequestered during that period of time. Knowing that that's the time of the trial and that the sequestration, do you still believe that you have the hardship that you thought you had prior?
2 to 4 weeks. Yes, ma'am. My job only pays 40 hours.
Your job only pays what?
40 hours for me to be here.
Oh, I see. For you to be on the jury?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
After that, they no longer pays me.
And you have no other means of supporting yourself and your family if that were to you were not to get paid?
Yeah, other than the $30 you guys paying me.
Okay.
Oh, I have child support, but that's not enough
Okay.
to live off of.
Do the attorneys have any questions they want to ask based upon these answers?
I'll just ask the folks as much as we could.
Yeah,
for
sit tight for
clarification.
just one moment.
Okay.
Thank you very much. If you'll follow Deputy Debs. Okay. Court will be in recess until 9 a.m. Council will meet